Andrew Gates as it says on the board. My mother raised me with a whole bunch of things in mind. But there were two things that really stuck with me through my entire childhood up until now. One, be yourself. No matter what comes or what goes, you lose a friend, you gain a new one. Be yourself. Things will work out in the end. The second one that every child that goes into church learns, Jesus loves you. There's a song about it. I'm not going to sing it. When I was a little angel, way back before they were here and they were at another church, I remember singing that song, and there was another one, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember at one point my mother said that singing is like having a chord from heaven, and all you have to do is pull on that chord, and God's going to listen to you. So if you start singing, you pull the chord, and God will hear everything you say. Me being the obnoxious 7-year-old I was, I said I was going to cut the cord. My mother immediately reprimanded me in front of the rest of the class. And thinking back on it, although she didn't say it, I had just broken both of my two fundamental truths. I was not being myself. I was being what everybody wanted me to be. I was being a jokester. After my mom left Vail, I had been raised on my true truths, and I followed through on my truths during my time at Vail United Methodist. She then went to a church in Pennsylvania around the time that I was in middle school, I think. And that's when things started changing for me. Instead of focusing on both of my fundamental truths, I really just started to focus on being myself. Yeah, Jesus loves me, but he's not here. I don't see him. Where's Jesus? As Jacob said, God's in the house. I don't see the smoke, so I didn't really focus on it. I spent my time sitting there being me. Whether God liked it or not, that was who I was going to be. I kept that act up, even when my mom left the Penn's church and came here. When my mom came here, I was at the point in my relationship with God where I wasn't really sure I believed in God anymore. I mean, my mom had flipped through so many churches. My life was not exactly the most exciting life in the world. I had left all of my friends through different schools, flipping through. Where's God in the equation? God's supposed to be good, right? But when I came here, and I hooked in with this youth group, I started to see God in me. This church has helped me to reconnect with both of my two fundamental truths. The entire time that my mom was flipping churches, I stuck with her. When my mom left here, it really forced me to step up and follow both of my truths on my own. I had to love Jesus, and I had to be myself and stay here. Through her leaving, I have truly stepped up to find out who I am. But during the entire story of my life, I really came to question, what if my two truths don't agree, like they didn't in middle school? What if, in all actuality, I can only focus on one of the two? I went through, and I did a lot of thinking. And it brought me to this conclusion. God made me. God made me with a very specific path. Psalms 119, verse 133, my life verse, says, "Keep my steps steady according to your promise, and let no iniquity ever have dominion over me." That verse is the verse that I walk on through my life. Because with that verse, it shows me that following in the footsteps that God has left me is helping me be myself and love Jesus. The Bible is the manual. The Bible shows us. You just have to look through it. There's one other thing my mom told me recently, though. In history class, high school specifically, we learn about the Protestant Reformation And then, about a whole lot of years later, that's an actual number, came the Great Awakening. Now, the church has gone about the same amount of time as went through between the Protestant Reformation and the Great Awakening, since the Great Awakening to now. A lot of theologians are currently believing that the next big rising in the church is coming forth. They're calling it the emergent church. The generation that stands before you today, leading your Youth Sunday, is a generation that's going to be leading this rising. But there's also one other fact that statistics are showing about this generation. The generation born from 1986 to 2002 is expected to be the first generation to not be as successful as its forerunners. How is a group of people that are supposed to fall down in the footsteps of their ancestors going to rise up to lead the church to where it needs to be? The skit shows us how it's happening. The longer you wait to stop smoking or stop doing whatever sin is controlling you, the harder it is to stop. So to my youth friends, remember that. Keep it in your minds as you're going through your life, deciding whether or not to do something. In the movie, a little bit of bad just keeps adding up, and it gets bigger. Just a little bit of bad, as we saw with the poop, affects the entire batch. My question is, with each of those little sins as a piece of poop, the more of them that you build up, you're eventually going to get to the point where your brownies are a lot less of the equation, and your poop is more of the equation. So you're going to have like brownie poop instead of big brownies. And the last part, what do your friends see? When you go to work, do your friends see the religious side of you that the people at church see? Or do they see just an ordinary person acting like they're following Jesus? I wear this cross around my neck so that people know. I draw crosses on my arm so that people know. Every single one of my actions is for Christ. With the new church rising, I want to be one of the people to step up and help lead our generation to what they can be, not what statistics are calling them. Today, the songs we listened to, I picked them all. It was actually a hidden message. I dare you to move, to lift up the victory chant, because we want to see Jesus lifted high. Corny, yes, I know. But bad? No. Those three songs, just in their titles, give a huge message to the youth who sang them, to the congregation who listened to them. I was kind of sitting in the nursery today, and I'm not going to lie, I was kind of writing up the end of my sermon in the nursery during the 9:30 service. But I was sitting there, and I got to this point, and I didn't know how to end it. So I did the natural thing that a distracted teenager would do. I left the room and said, I'm going to go find inspiration. I went to the little kid in class instead. But when I walked in that room, I went through and I said hi to all the kids that I always say hi to every Sunday. And then I went to Noah Zentz. I haven't had much experience with Noah Zentz until today. But I sat down next to him. I said, what you doing, Noah? And he was just finishing drawing a question. He looks at me and he reads the question to me. Do you want to do it? It all clicked in my head. I bolted out of that classroom and came back here, and I wrote the last part of my sermon. Do you want to be the generation that leads us through the next big rising of the church? Do you want to be the people that can show the world that Christianity is not a joke. Christianity is a lifestyle. Do you want to be that? I do. My mother is the reason that I want to. She showed me, and I'm here to show you. I want children like Sullivan Freeman, who was just baptized, to grow up in a world where Christianity actually matters to people. Thank you.